I was serving in my second area. I was training for the first time a young missionary named Elder Bowman. And we were serving in an area that had, in the past, had some really hard times finding people to baptize. It was a really low baptizing area, and we were kind of falling into the same rut and struggling to find people to teach. And there was an area on the northern end, or the northern end of my mission, or eastern end of my mission, called Sunny Point. And it had been shut down for a long time, and kind of had the red flag for violence and for, gang activity and things like that. And it was closed down to missionaries. And I had called the assistants, called the president, like looked at the area book and seeing if it was still kind of locked down, because I felt like we needed to go there, and nobody had any idea. It was this thing of the past. So we ended up going to this area for the first time. And the very first day we rode in, it was a predominantly African American, not African, kind of African descent population. All of them were African descent, and so we were looking at us really funny too. These white boys riding in on bikes with white shirts on, and as I was riding through the streets, I just was guided by the Spirit, and I would see a street and just say, no, it's not this one, and I'd see the next street and say, no, it's not this one, and then finally on the third right, I felt like I needed to go right, and then I rode down that street, bypassed the first street, and then took a right on the second street on our right hand side. And we started tracting and started talking to people, and nobody was really responsive. Then we found this young woman. She was like 18 years old. She was outside of some of her younger siblings, and we contacted her. Her name was Saida, and we had a good talk with her and set up an appointment to come back to meet with her mom later that week. And her name was Hilla. And so we met with this family, and we taught them, and they were just wonderful people, really poor and really humble, but wonderful people. And we ended up baptizing Saida and her mom later that transfer. But the interesting thing is that we found them on the very first day that we entered that area. And then every day after that we went back to go find people in that area, we never once found a person that wanted to hear the gospel. We never once found another person that was willing or that progressed. And it was really special to me that on that day, at that time, we were guided to meet Saida, which helped us to meet her family, who was ultimately baptized and is still active in the church today. And it was kind of just cool to feel like I was being an instrument in the Lord's hands, that I was taken to a specific place at a specific time to meet a specific person who needed what we had. And I'll never forget them or that experience, because they were some of my favorite people in my whole mission. I love them dearly, and that, meant a lot to me.